Gotta love Sonic the Hedgehog. Welcome, everybody, to Iron Realm Media. It is Friday, February 24th. At least here in America, it is 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. More Flat Earth Fraternization and Fellowship. Welcome, everybody. We have Rob, Adam, and we have a newcomer with us today. Rob's friend Ross will be joining us today. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Evening.
Hello.
How are you?
So, lots of stuff happening this week as far as Flat Earth is concerned. We had Kyrie Irving come out last week when we were on the air. We kind of broke that live-ish. Since then, there's been a couple more NBA basketball players talking about it. Adam, did I hear you say that there were some wrestlers on the WWE throwing the name Flat Earther about, trying to insult each other?
I caught a little clip. I like I said, I don't know the names of these wrestlers, but I did see a little YouTube clip where one was trying to insult the other one by calling him a flat earther, and whilst not able to accept the title, the wrestler was prepared to say that there were certainly concepts that the other guy's small mind probably weren't able to grasp, and that maybe he should try and get his head around them. So I thought that was for such a mainstream, assumed Masonic controlled corporation.
I noticed Neil. I noticed Neil has come out and was talking about Kyrie as well.
Oh yeah, Neil Disgrace. He was
already
on Joe Rogan's podcast. I forgot that happened this week too.
There was that, but it was on some
Joe Rogan's
channel.
a turncoat, isn't he?
Wait, what'd you say, Rob?
I said, Joe Rogan's a turncoat, isn't he?
Yeah, that's probably about the nicest name we could call him. What did you say, Adam?
I was going to say ratings chaser, but there was the Joe Rogan ball fest, wasn't it? No, not prepared to say anything, disprove anything, just waffle pointlessly. But there was I don't know what, some kind of American sports channel also had him on like a Skype link where he was saying I've got no problem with Kyrie Irving saying what he's saying as long as he stays in a career where he doesn't control spaceships and stays basically in basketball.
That's awesome.
So
I think that's great. Yeah, as long as he doesn't involve himself in spaceships, he can just say whatever he wants to say, and that tide will slowly turn, and old Neil Disgrace is going to turn around one day and find himself on the short end of the stick if he doesn't watch it.
Again, you look at stuff. First they attack you, then mock you. Yeah, and if you look at the BOB thing from Neil Disgrace, first it was an attack. It was a straightforward attack, and now is a kind of irony, a pity level attempt he's tried next with the next wave that's come out of reality. So interesting just to watch people's reactions and how the mainstream's reacting. Like I say, to see WWE formatting it, whether they're after ratings, it's a title chaser. I don't necessarily think they're that intelligent that there's anything more than that, but interesting reactions to see, isn't it? And
no, I mean,
to see a non-attack from DeGrasse where it really was let him be, as long as he just throws a ball at a hoop. You know what I mean? What harm can it do? Which again is,
right, as if he doesn't have the ear of tens of thousands of young, hungry black people trying to figure out the truth.
Yeah. There was another clip again that was quite telling in terms of how you can see it being perceived outside of the media, and there was again Kyrie Irving and some other basketball dude giving an interview, and it's the other basketball dude that's being filmed, and one of the interviewers asks him about Kyrie Irving and his beliefs, and he's kind of on the next table with a divide, and he kind of leans over and shouts at him, and the interesting point for me was that there was nothing disparaging he turned to his mate and he kind of phrased, I can't remember what it was, but he phrased it in a way that enabled his mate to respond in a positive manner. You know, there wasn't anything negative in what he was saying. He was saying to him, yeah, you believe in flat earth, don't you, bro? You know what I mean? As if, and so he could just come out with,
hey, Adam, he said, hey, yo, Kyrie, the earth's flat, right?
Exactly. That sounds exactly right what I heard, Rob. Oh, it's exactly it. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? But so again, interesting tones. He's not sat there embarrassed in front of his peers, feeling the need to defend his teammate. He's standing up and he's saying, yeah, you believe in flat earth, don't you, bro? Do you know what I mean? And that's quite interesting, that there's not an instant level of ridicule that you would expect.
Yeah, we've taken shit for 2 years and we're finally starting to shed that stigma. We're finally starting to break that elementary school conditioning of the stupid, ignorant, prehistoric flat earthers that just didn't know the world was round. And I think we're finally starting to break that, and it's becoming accepted. I'd hate to say it, but from the sounds of that interview, if they're just being able to come out on ESPN and just talk with each other about how it's okay to think the earth might be flat, that's a far cry from where we were 2 years ago. A far cry.
Well, it's like I say with Neil deGrasse, you've gone from the world ain't flat, there's gravity dropping a mic, you're an idiot, to, well, if that's what he wants to believe, as long as he's not going to control a spaceship, then I live in a free country, should be allowed to believe it. You know, so attack, ridicule. The next stage is coming.
Do you think he's really that clueless, though? Can he be that oblivious to this undercurrent that's happening with flat Earth?
No, I think he's that powerless that all he can do is go along with whatever keeps him within a believable narrative. So at the moment, what he can't do next was outright attack Kyrie Irving, because that brings so much focus on him as an individual of science to then come up and explain his shit. So it's easier for him to say, no, I'm happy for him to believe what he wants. I don't need to engage. And that was the point on that clip. I don't engage with people anymore. He didn't engage with people anymore. It's probably near the point.
So let's see what else.
I think we better.
What was that, Rob?
I think we better give a shout out to John's video that made Globebusters this week too.
You know what, you pushy son of a gun? I'm getting there. Give me half a second. I got to segue. You got to segue into these things. We just don't stop and start. You got to work into it.
Oh, do we?
The podcast. It's all about talking, manipulating the language so that we can flow smoothly. You know, like all that shit we don't do.
All right.
It's not the Australian way, mate. It's not the Australian way. It's blunt and frank. Do you fancy a root?
But no, that being said, Globebusters had our boy John Savage gyroscope video on there. I know John's been tinkering away.
Ads and all they had.
What's that?
Really? Hey, Rob, that was a nice segue. I've got to say, that was a nice segue.
Yeah.
It's been on Globebusters then.
Maybe we should have been talking about ads first. We could talk about ads and then go, oh, did everyone see the ad that was on the gyroscope video the other day?
There you go. That'd be a great
segue.
That'd be
nice.
one potential segue as far as ad revenue is concerned on John Savage gyroscope video.
John's probably cringing right now. Hello, John. He's probably cringing.
That's all right.
Happy babysitting, John.
So it's on the screen now, and like it says here, this is kind of what's important. One of the biggest, you son of a bitch, one of the biggest things that needs to be addressed is what it is this video is showing. So he set up the gyroscope once already and let it run for 6 hours. And what was the result? Zero movement. Right? Big surprise, because the Earth doesn't spin. That was the result that flat earthers expected. right? No spin. But of course, the trolls have to come out of the woodwork and say, well, that's just because it's a cheap little gyroscope and there's too much friction in the bearings to show the Earth's spin on your cheap little gyroscope. So John Savage, being the savage beast that he is all right then. So he went and found himself a 24-hour clock and set it up and then set the gyroscope on there to see if that slow 24-hour precession would really be picked up by this gyroscope, or if it really was just a cheap toy with too much friction in the bearings to show. So that's what this video is. It's this follow-up to the first one. So yeah, basically it's just me being long-winded, and he gets into
Bagging
it.
him about this time. What can they possibly bag him about? Adam?
I think we when John released, or after the experiment, when John released the first vid, we all sat there and, like we do, you know, this isn't sycophantic nonsense. Well, I sat there and I analysed it, and I think that week we sat there and we looked at the criticisms that had come in off YouTube, etc., etc. It was all waffle and just like tiresome to respond to, and the biggest criticisms and valid scientific criticisms that we got were from ourselves, and that was to do, you know, specifically to do with the mechanics of the motor. But on reflection of that, you know, even whether it was faster, slower, a very small twitch, a fast twitch within the motor that was representing the spin of the Earth, that gyroscope should have been able to pick it up, and did, in whatever motion it did. So to me, it demonstrates a lot more than just removing the criticism of the first video. I think it adds a lot more validity to it. Doesn't prove anything, but it adds to the preponderance of evidence, doesn't it, as we like to say. So, do you know what I mean? It certainly proves it's not spinning. That's what it does. What it proves it is doing is a different matter from a scientific point of view, or from my point of view.
But as I keep saying, I try to explain people at my work about this sort of stuff, and they say, no, gravity. You can't beat those people, and no matter what video, you know, they'll say that this gyroscope gravity is pointing it down, so it's not going to move. So the plane flies over and it's always pointing to the center of the Earth. So that's how the gyroscopes work, and you'll never beat that. But who do know gyroscopes need to just figure that out, I suppose.
I don't see how the horizontal plane. We need John for this. But the horizontal plane gyroscope is different to what John's demonstrating. So the gravity in this one isn't necessarily a relevant force as an excuse.
I was going to say, unfortunately, John couldn't be with us this week. He has daddy duty, but I know he is listening now. So thanks, John. Great video. Love to see you getting some recognition. If only we had the numbers that Globebusters has.
That's right.
Dare to dream. Dare to dream. This time next year, Rodney. This time next year. Yeah, so from my point of view, the difference there is that gravity is correcting the gyroscope on a horizontal plane.
Mm-hmm.
Please text in, Johnny, just to say you're not talking crap, man. As I understand it, the aeroplane horizontal plane thing would be is excused by gravity in that it applies a force of realignment to the gyroscope, which is in of its sense opposite to what the gyroscope is supposedly doing. But okay, if you were to perceive that excuse, I don't think the same level of reasoning could be applied to this, because this is a rotational issue. It's not a flat plane issue. It's nothing to do with the plane. It's noticing whether or not the Earth is moving or rotating underneath the gyroscope, not is the Earth curving underneath. So it's on different axes.
Yeah, that's right, Adam. Yep.
I think,
yeah, you're right, Adam. Go.
that would make sense to me. I would stand to be corrected, but you know, as always, you know, but that would seem the sensible thing. I don't see how gravity can affect this reading. This is seeing if there's a rotation of the Earth underneath.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. We've seen 1,000. Yeah, there's 1,000 videos out there that show. No, you know. Well, the one that I love the most is the guy that picks up the pole with the weights on the end of it. Well, he can't pick it up to begin with, and he spins up these weights, or I'm not sure the nitty gritty of it. Spins up, and he's picking up this like 40 kilos and whipping it around like it's nothing. And it's because these things, they defy gravity. That's how they work. They don't.
Well, there is that plain contradictory evidence to the weak excuse for the aeroplane gyroscope that always worked before we realised the Earth was a ball. You know,
yeah, it's all right in front of our faces.
Well, they work the same when we thought it was flat. You know what I mean? And they work on a flat premise. But that removes the gravitational effect argument, doesn't it? That lifting of such a heavy weight against gravity.
Yeah, and we're leaving Ross out here. Ross, so you don't know anything about gyroscopes, or you haven't heard, you know, as a newbie, sort of to what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I know they exist, but I just don't know how a gyroscope functions fully. You know, I've never looked into the mechanisms of it. So
yeah, so
yeah,
and
but
you would, yeah. So as a sort of new person, it'd be hard to grasp. It'd be hard to grasp as a new person that something that's so easy and so mechanical can prove the globe.
Yeah,
and that's what it does. And that's what it does. Prove the ball. Sorry, prove the ball.
Yeah.
Prove the ball flat.
What I'll do,
get off your shit. You're at it again.
But I'll Google it up and educate myself up on these gyroscopes because, every plane has them. And I think I was reading somewhere a while back, they're not it's not a highly technical thing that they put in them planes, you know what I mean? Out of all the components, it's one of the most basic things that they've got in the plane. So,
they're loaded, Ross, aren't they? If you know, they're loaded now with excuses.
Yeah.
To presuppose, but the important thing is they weren't ever in the old days like that. That was never a consideration. A gyroscope did what the gyroscope did what you and we all imagine. Yeah, and that my understanding is not much more than that, as you can tell from my trying to explain John's experiment.
Yeah, well,
but it's the same as what we imagine it is as a kid. It stays where you put it. It doesn't matter what happens around it. It stays where you put it.
Yeah. Right.
And that sort of leads me on to that other video. What was that one? I've had a brain explosion. Sorry. Go.
No wrong with that, mate. Happens.
I was going to say something.
That's your first.
Sorry, Josh. I interrupted your insult. Carry on.
No, that's all right. I got plenty more of those. You can just go right ahead.
No, so to me, Ross, you know, the gyroscope does exactly what we remember it being told it does as kids, and that's what John's demonstrating here. That no matter what the Globers are now saying, that we misremember Mandela effect for whatever bloody reasons, whether we just weren't paying attention at school, that even though that opposes what they're saying now, that basic science we learned as children, even though that basic knowledge now opposes certain fundamentals when we demonstrate it like this. So they come up with the excuses of gravity doing this on this and this and this. And so what John's second experiment is particularly addressing is the criticism, and it was kind of, it wasn't unvalid criticism, because the manufacturers themselves wouldn't confirm that the gimbal and everything itself would be sufficiently receptive to picking up that level of turn of 360 in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So what this second experiment does is prove that the equipment is capable of doing so.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say, Adam. Does everyone remember the Mark Sargent pilot, I believe, sent a letter to Mark Sargent about he was on the tarmac ready to take off, and I believe it was like a mechanism that is attached to the gyro was not working. So he was getting confirmation that he could leave, because he thought, this thing is necessary for his navigation and stuff, and they just let him go. They said, "Oh no, you'll be right." And so he was searching on the internet trying to find out what these things do, and it's all secret squirrel sort of stuff. And really, he shouldn't have been able to leave the tarmac if this thing wasn't working. But because we know that it's flat plane, that they just let him go anyway. Apparently, these things don't break very often, so yeah, like a one-off.
That's similar to Bob's off Globebuster story, isn't it? In terms of but that's with the light version of the gyroscope. I'm not sure what the posh scientific terminology is in terms of the light gyroscope that Bob's investigating. But again, a similar story, that when we're told it's not working, it doesn't really matter, because it's flat, so don't worry too much. And along that journey, and that's, I think, what Bob alluded to, that the guys, the pilots on that story, the thing that raised their concerns and queries, not maybe necessarily concerns, but raised their questions in their mind, was the fact that they didn't actually need to recalibrate off of it being horizontal. There was no curvature to recalibrate for, and that's what raised the questions for these guys to then present their evidence to Bob, as far as I can see. So similar story, mate. You know what I mean? It's real people doing the job.
That's the stories that we do here.
It's called, isn't it? Yeah, it's whistleblowing.
That's the stories that we do here, Adam. Imagine imagine the ones that we haven't heard of. The little things that go wrong here and there, e.g., the baby that was born, and they sent them through to, I think, Alaska or something like that, instead of the closest place on the globe would have been Los Angeles or something, but they stopped in Canada or something like that. I can't really remember the story. Remember that one? It just, little things like that would be happening all the time, which we don't hear about. We're only hearing about, one in every 1,000 little stories. I reckon we might be getting a little taste of them ones, keeping us interested.
I think there's probably also, I bet there's ones where I was flying across the Atlantic, and I took out my binoculars, seeing this island I'd never seen before, and there on the beach was George Michael, Prince, and Princess Diana. Do you know what I mean? There must be 100 million anomaly type stories that are hidden, put away, ridiculed. And it's only now that there's an atmosphere that maybe the instant ridicule means you're able to remove those sorts of stories.
That's a great segue, is these planes, because Ross has done the straight through from South America to Australia. Have you not, Ross?
Yeah, I've done Brisbane, and then flew to Auckland over to Santiago, and then gone up to Colombia, and come back down Buenos Aires, and from Buenos Aires, Santiago, back to Auckland, and down to Sydney. And I've done the flight down from, same thing again, Brisbane to Auckland, Auckland up to Los Angeles, down to Panama City, down to Colombia, and then back that way. and I've done the measurements and the times and everything. And every time I've gone on to book a flight, return flight, and it happens no matter where you go, even if it's straight to New Zealand, they always have long layovers. And if, so if I flew from, say, Auckland to Santiago, and I get there at a certain time, I've got 3 hours to catch the next plane. But if I've booked the return flight, they make you miss it. They won't do it unless you do individual flights and get up and say, well, if I can fly from here and get to there, I've got time to catch that plane. But they never seem to do it, even going to New Zealand. But the flights do exist, but it's always cheaper to fly from Auckland or from Australia, say Brisbane or Sydney, up to LA, and then come down to Colombia. And then I've seen flights that have worked out cheaper. They go up to Vancouver and then come down to, might come back down to Panama City, or not Panama City, but come down to, say Fort Lauderdale, and then into Colombia. And it's just weird that I looked at another flight, and I booked from Sydney to Santiago, no, Buenos Aires, so to Santiago, Buenos Aires. And then I looked at another one from Perth to Buenos Aires, and 30 odd hours of flying as opposed to, say, 15, 16 hours from Sydney to Buenos Aires. A return flight from there was, say, about $1,700 or $1,800 from Sydney, yet it was about $100 cheaper, flying double the flying time. We go up to Dubai, India. So it doesn't work out on a globe, you know. And so that's what annoys me.
What you say there is it doesn't work out on a globe.
Well, economically,
geographically and economically, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's both the nonsense of the route. Yeah.
So why is it when and it's called Latin Airlines now on their 787-9? They're doing regular flights out of Australia and probably even New Zealand over to Buenos Aires or to Santiago in Chile, and the distance is shorter, but for some unknown reason, it's always cheaper to fly up to, you know, and then you get to Buenos Aires, obviously, or Santiago, and then you're flying up to Colombia, because it's always cheaper to go into the northern hemisphere, according to the globe, and then come back down, which is a longer trip. And I know if I'm running the airline business, I know that my longer trips, you're going to use more fuel. It's like me if I was a taxi driver. If I was to take a person from here into town and it costs them $25, well, I'm not going to take a person that's going to be double the distance and still charge them $25. It's not economical. So I want to know why the airlines are doing all these big, massive, and like I'm talking the flight times, a considerable hours difference. And when you look at the prices, you go, well, hang on, it doesn't make sense. So it doesn't add up on the globe. To me, it doesn't add up economically flying an airline to do that. To fly further and then get, even as a travel agency, they'll fly you from Sydney, they'll fly you up to Vancouver. Like I did another search, it was from Medellin in Colombia. So you fly south to Bogota, which is only about an hour away or half an hour. So you fly south to Bogota, then you're flying up to Fort Lauderdale or up into New York, and then you're going over the top into China somewhere, and then from China you're coming down to Australia. Now that's a straighter line on a flat earth, but that flight's cheaper, but it takes a lot more longer hours in flying time and plus layover time than it is to go do a direct flight. It just doesn't add up. It's just not, to me, it's not economical. Yeah.
No, you're right, Ross. No, it's good. It's good. It's well explained. Yeah.
The the only counter argument I can currently think to that is that there's not, and I would probably dispute the counter argument I'm giving, that there's not the volume of passengers to warrant the number of flights. But I suppose the counter argument to that I would give as a believer that that's bullshit is that look at the number of flights that go via indirect routes and the number of people there. So that kind of that economic argument, as you say, is negated.
Yeah, well, I looked at that too, and I thought, well, okay, on these 787s and that, how many people get on? I said, well, just be conservative, say 200. Now, I know that years ago, back in 1990, travelling through the States, wanted to go down to South America and then fly back to New Zealand. And you couldn't get a flight out of South America to New Zealand. They said, no, you've got to fly out of Los Angeles, out of LA. So I thought, oh, shit. So I gave South American this because I said, don't have the money to go all the way down and come all the way back. But now, and then when I looked at, okay, maybe it's not as popular in people, but the planes, when you're flying over there, they're not empty. There are a lot of people on them. Because and then what I look back to is back in 1985, 88, flying from New Zealand, 747 with Singapore Airlines. So flew to Singapore, and then from Singapore, we flew to Dubai or United Arab Emirates, and then from there, flying from there to Rome, a 747 was virtually empty. Right, that plane was virtually empty. So now, when we look at it flying to South America, I discard the excuse that it's not popular because we now have Super Rugby with the Argentinians playing in the rugby competition. So they'll be flying that way all the time. And it's the same as from Australia when they go to South Africa.
That's an important point, guys. You know, when Southern Hemisphere teams and with the egg chasing and that, then there's a fair bit of Southern Hemisphere competition now, isn't there, with Argentina and Rob and Ross now in terms of Kiwis and Aussies as well. Do you know what I mean? So there must be a fair bit of, and if you think of it back in the old days, I'm being a bit simplistic, but if you put on a team bus, you put a team bus on from A to B, don't you? So if you put on a specific flight, which is pretty much going to be loaded with very highly paid and insured sports stars, you don't necessarily do anything other than flying from A to B, do you? So where do they fly from? That's probably something that's worth. Do they go on the John Travolta flights, or is it?
Well, I mean, what can I put it? See, it's funny too, because airline flights, out of everything that's gone up in cost, the airline flights seem to be the only thing that have never gone up in cost. And I'm going back to, say, 1990, we'll call that as a benchmark. It would cost you about, I know the flight from New Zealand to England was costing about $1,300 back then. And obviously, a layover night in Singapore for a few nights. But that's one way. Now you can fly virtually return for near enough the same price, sometimes if not cheaper. So more and more people are travelling, and a lot more people are doing South America. So, yeah, they are popular flights. And I want to know why they cost a hell of a lot more than it is to fly to another destination and then down to South America. Just
that's it.
The explanation. Oh, sorry.
The manhandling of your baggage 3 or 4 times when you're changing flights and checking in and checking out and all the stuff that you've got to do. What about the taxes, John? Do you Adam? Bloody,
I was going to.
I'm off my head today. Ross, what about the taxes when you're going into each of these airports? You have to keep paying like airport tax and all that sort of stuff for 3 or 4 flights, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I know New Zealand used to have a departure tax, regardless of where you come from. You have to pay the departure tax at the airport. So bad luck if you only had a couple of dollars in your pocket. You've been on your trip and you're broke. But America and that, they never had any. I think it was already in the ticket sometime, maybe. But then the thing is,
sorry.
Yeah, airlines.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. Airlines pay, like for airport usage sometimes. So to me, it's sort of like, well, they're paying a high price for sort of like to have the use of using airports and stuff like that. So it just boggles my mind that why you can, if you want to fly to San Diego, sometimes it's cheap to fly to Buenos Aires and get that 2-hour flight back to San Diego. So you leave Auckland, you get to over to Argentina, and come back to Chile.
What are the price differences, Ross, at the moment? You've checked it right out. What are the price differences at the moment?
Oh God, and they vary. I've known that sometimes in February and September about the cheapest times around the world to fly, but the price differences get huge. And I'm talking just a simple flight from say Auckland or Sydney. So I looked at one saying, right, I want to leave Auckland to go to Santiago, and then what it did, it had me on I didn't fly it, but I was looking at the flight, and it goes leaves Auckland, flies to Sydney, then you get on a 747, it takes 12 hours, 20 minutes from Sydney to Santiago. And that flight is cheaper than leaving directly, around about the same price as flying from bloody Auckland straight to Santiago.
That's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. And New Zealand to Australia, most of the flights are only done in those 737s or 787s or whatever. Very rarely the 747s now. So you're looking around, say, 3 hours. Give it a take, might be 3.5, but 3 hours flight. So you've got 3 hours flying from New Zealand, going to Australia, then you've got to come back past New Zealand, where it's shown on if it's on the globe. You come underneath the south tip of New Zealand, and so there's another 3 hours there. So there's 6 hours up already, and then you've got your continuation of another, say, 9 hours flight if it's a 747 across to Santiago. It's weird. And then I've got the flight shown if it was in a straight line, which would be the cheapest way to go. You come down, and if you were to look out, you most likely should see the Antarctica on a clear day.
Yeah, no, they're all bizarre, those flights. But we know they exist, so people can't say they don't exist, but they do.
Flights exist, but you just got to work them out now on a flat mat, and you can fly the old and play around. So, well, that works if you fly direct to there. That's going to take that time. As opposed to LA, which is an extra hour flight. So, but when you put it on a flat earth, and you look at it, you go, Auckland to LA and down to Colombia, virtually a straight line. You know what I mean? Yeah. It boggles my mind. Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? People saying that these flights don't exist?
Because there wasn't many of them. There honestly wasn't many of them. Josh, there wasn't.
Qantas flies to Buenos Aires, and I'd say they do a stopover in Santiago. Latin Airlines do the same out of Sydney and out of Auckland. They do exist. They do now, but they didn't exist back in, 1990, probably a little bit after 1990, they didn't exist. Don't know why.
I've had huge arguments on Twitter because people reckon that I was a shill, as you call it.
Yeah.
Because I was saying they do exist. I was getting huge, bloody, all sorts of things that I was getting called. But
yeah, no, they exist.
It was good, Ross. Thanks for that.
Yeah. But America uses New Zealand as like Christchurch to fly to the Antarctica, and whether the South American countries don't want them to or whatever. I don't know why they don't fly from South America down to the Antarctica, which is even closer to a degree.
Yeah, so they definitely don't fly from South Africa, South America?
No, they always seem to be flying out of Christchurch.
Right.
Don't know why.
Well, because unlike you, it really matters that they didn't put chemtrails over the penguins.
Yeah, no, there's something fishy. All I know is that in economics, you're not going to have someone on a plane taking 50 hours or 30 something hours flying cheaper than someone who would only take something like 14 hours at the most.
It does not make any sense at all.
No.
It also doesn't make sense that if you really had a real choice, that the majority of the population would pay 10% discount and travel for twice as long. I go on Ryanair, right, and so I fly to Italy frequently, and the flight's like 50 quid, yeah, and 50 quid back, and I end up paying another 20 quid plus another 6 quid to book the exact seat to make sure I've got a seat with the extra leg room. And so I'm paying like a 20-30% surcharge just to get the seat I want, yeah, on a cheap flight. It's not credible to suggest that populations of countries would all go for, I'll double my flight time to save 10%. It doesn't. So there clearly isn't, as much as there's a choice portrayed there, there isn't an actual real choice that's enactable by the population. There's something that's not strange, because the law of economics and choice means.
Well, if people are like me, and if I thought, okay, I'm going on a 2-week holiday, right? And I'll leave here on a Monday, and I'm not going to, I'm just going to calculate things. So I'm going to leave here on in March, and I'm going to fly out on the 1st, being Wednesday, and I want to go to Colombia, and I'll spend 2 weeks there, and then I'm going to leave again, possibly we'll say Thursday, the 16th. So, you know, you've got 2 weeks, 1 day. I don't want to muck around where I lose 2 days to get there and then lose 2 days to get back, which means I don't get to have my 2 weeks over in my destination, my holiday. And if most people are like me, you get off a plane and you go through the customs in LA, which takes fucking forever, and it is a nuisance. And then you're hungry, so then you've got to eat or whatever. So to try and save money on a flight, you're going to be ending up spending that money on stopovers. And so, and if people are like me, I just want to get to my place as quickly as I can. Unless I'm one of these, you know, like if I'm backpacking, so I'll fly from London to New York, and then we'll spend a month and travel around America, and then we'll fly out of LA to New Zealand. That's different. But yeah, to go from A to B and end up getting diverted to see, doing all these other destinations to get there and takes 2 hours, or 54 hours to get there. I just, yeah, I can't wear it.
Are you okay, Evan?
Sorry.
Just making sure.
I bang me work, mate, if you want to know the truth, and not one of me test fans off. But yeah, no, I'm fine, thanks, guys. It's good to know you care. Yes.
I don't.
Yeah. I know you did, really. I heard. I could tell you were muted, and you're unmuted when you heard that, Rob. I can tell. You can pretend, but I know.
It's
You're
morning
a regular
time.
Sherlock, aren't you?
He's not going to care till about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. They'll cry. Yeah. No, I mean that. Seriously, that's the point. There's no. When you look at it, if you wanted to make a business, if I set up flights 3 a day from Australia to the South direct, you'd fill them every single day. So there's obviously another reason why somebody, if you look in the Northern Hemisphere, I alluded to Ryanair. Ryanair just sprung up from nowhere because they did cheap things that people wanted. People want to fly from Australia to South America without fucking around. It's reasonable. When I get a plane to Italy, I don't say, can I go via fucking Moscow, please? Because I'll save 10%. There's no value in it. Do you know what I mean? So there's another reason that these things don't exist. You can make all the bullshit explanations you want, but people out there like to make money.
Well, I remember when I was in England, and London is a gateway to the rest of the world. Dubai is a gateway to the rest of the world. LA is, New York. But out of those countries, it's like London. And I remember we were in Scotland. We could have flown to from Scotland down to Miami for less than 100 quid return. And this is going back to 1988. And my friend and I were thinking of doing it. I said, fuck, you did. And that's a flight and a half, in itself. But for under 100 quid, and equated back in those days, that's like 300 New Zealand dollars. And we thought, gee, that was bloody cheap. We never did it because we had to get a job. We thought, no, we get ourselves a job. We were there for 2 years, working holiday. And where were we going to go with this? But yeah, I'll come back to it. I lost where I was going to go to.
Is there something in the water in your town, you lot?
Yeah, they got chlorine.
It's early morning. It's early morning. I should be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, but I don't know. I'm off it today.
Poor Ross up all night watching Rob Skiba.
Yeah, he's been putting out some good stuff, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, I watched Rob till about 4 o'clock this morning. So I only had about 3 hours sleep. Yeah, Rob Skiba.
And if you don't know, Ross goes to the Bible when me and him are chatting in the mornings having a coffee. He always goes to the Bible. And Ross, if you see my eyes glaring over, it's because I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, I'll just.
See, and I sit in the middle. I sit in the middle, Ross. So he can.
Oh, here's what I was going to say.
Great wisdom. Yeah. Great wisdom, just not necessarily true doctrine.
See, there you go. Here's one reason you should listen when Ross speaks. There's great wisdom. You just don't have to accept it.
Hey Ross, I've heard of people. I've heard of people that Jesus speak to them, and they've been shown the way by Jesus. So they've started up blogs. Has Jesus ever spoken to you, Ross?
No, I've never. Well, I myself, I reckon there is a differences in faith. Like, how can I put it? People do. It's not like so much speaking as in like what we're talking, but people are led to something, and then it's like, well, and then things do happen. But there's a lot of stuff that has happened, and there has been a lot of Muslims been on their deathbeds and shit like that, and they've had something happen and they've changed over. So, I myself have never experienced anything, or probably have, but just don't see it. But I want to come back to just a flight thing. In Townsville, where Rob and I live, there's a lot of New Zealanders live up in Cairns, which is 4 hours north, live in Mackay, which is 4 hours south, and out west in the mining area. So you take a big arc of a 4 hour arc. A lot of Maoris over here, native New Zealanders. So if someone dies in New Zealand, it's a big thing for them to go back and have the big funeral and the whatnots and everything. Now they've been talking of doing direct flights from Townsville to New Zealand, and they keep talking about it. which would make sense for an airline. And if they did 2 flights a week, they'd always have those planes filled up. But we've always got to fly down to Brisbane and then out. And that's a pain in the ass sometimes too. So why these airlines are humming and hawing about everything and that, you know, the population's there because they were flying straight from Townsville to Bali. And I'm just thinking, well, any airline that flew out of Townsville will make their money going direct to Auckland, New Zealand. It would save a lot of people up north and that, you know, Mount Isa, which is about 12 hours drive from Townsville. So, you know, we are a hub for fly out for mining areas. So it's just.
That's right. People don't realise how big this country is, do they, Ross? You talk about, you know, we have to fly down to Brisbane to go across there. It's 1,500 kilometres just from here to Brisbane. So we do that leg first and then fly across. It's ridiculous, some of the flights that we have to do.
Yeah, and then they have now and then people say, oh, you should fly out of Cairns. And I said, well, you can't always get a direct flight out of Cairns. And then when you go to look for them, they'll go from Cairns down to Brisbane and over to New Zealand, or even Cairns, Brisbane, or to Sydney and over to New Zealand. I said, it makes no sense. They're not direct flights. But, I won't, if I've got a flight, I'm not going to save $100, like to save $100 and take twice as long to get somewhere. I just wouldn't do it. Because I'd spend that $100 at the bloody airports grabbing copies and whatnot.
But if you're going to go to South America and it's $1,000 cheaper to go around the outside, you'd more than likely do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, I've been looking, as much as I don't want to fly into LA again, because last time I got detained for 2.5 hours for nothing, and I was only doing a one-night stopover. But the weird thing is, I got scanned here at the Townsville airport. They asked me, I said, you can check in, I don't care. Got to Brisbane, and from Brisbane they put me through the X-ray machine. And then when I got to Auckland, I was walking through to go to the gates where you go and wait to get on the plane. Called out and asked me if I was Robert McIntyre. That's my first name, the Christian name. And I said, yeah, I am. And he asked me to step aside and they did a check there. And then when I got to LA, they pulled me over for another, when I was finally got through to the guy at the customs, and then we check in, we do your fingerprints and all that. Then they said, oh, come with us. And then went into this waiting room with all these other people, Russians, Chinese, and they weren't young and all that, all different ages. And 2.5 hours later, and then they said, oh, you can go. And I really wanted to get up to them. I said, no, fight your tongue, because you know what they're like in America now. But it's just, So I'd rather fly getting direct to a place than having to go through all the crap of going through different airports. Especially the way they're doing security now with everything, you know. I've seen on some videos or whatever where females being grabbed by the clutch on a search, you know, by both male and females. And I think people are going to start getting pissed off with that. So I just can't work out why they're doing these multiple flights just to get to from A to B.
I mean, TSA's been grabbing people here, men, women, little kids.
Yeah.
Touching them on here for, probably well over a decade now. Well, since just after 2001, I guess.
Yeah, they did it since 9/11. That was a big scam, that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, the trouble is, if what Rob's saying is right, I bet you're using the prayer rooms, aren't you, in these airport lounges?
No, I don't.
If you start doing that, you know they're going to pull you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, look, what's happening. I know we're still going off topic. It's the New World Order thing. You bring out flat Earth, but they don't want flat Earth because what you're doing is you're exposing the lies. And when you've got, and a lot of people don't understand, the Vatican The Roman Catholicism is not what people think it is. They have two doctrines, one for them and one for us, or the outside, you know. And they set up Islam and a whole lot of things like this. A lot of people go off on tangents and a whole lot of things. But you look at Christianity in America now. Not a lot of kids and people getting done for carrying a Bible to school or talking about this, you know. It just doesn't make sense, and to me, it's a complete thing now. Yeah, you got, instead of having your photo in your passport, now you've got these bloody computerized things, and what we have in Australia, you look into a scanner with your eyes, and a gate will open for you. So you put the passport in, it gets scanned, and you look into this camera.
We've got biometric passports now, yeah, than the scanners.
Yeah, and my sister and I are coming back from New Zealand. She goes, "Oh, we'll go through here. It's quicker." And I said, "It doesn't work for me." And she, you know, and because it's worked once for me, but majority of times I get there, put my passport thing, and look into their camera thing, and it won't open. So I've got to put my hand up for someone to come and grab me, you know, take me through another one. So yeah, it's all gaining everyone's information, and I can see what they're going to do, like with the flat earth. They're going to try and kill it because there's no money for them to be made out of it. And they'll come after people on it, you know.
They try, Ross. They try, don't they?
Yeah.
You can't stop the truth, but you can't stop what people see, you know.
Yeah,
If the horizon is 20, if the horizon is 20 kilometers away, and it's only supposed to be 6 kilometers away,
yeah,
that's a telltale sign that something's not right.
Well, I look at things, and you can ask people, and I've asked people who go out fishing. I say, "How far can you see up to the horizon?" "Oh, 20 kilometers, or 40 kilometers, whatever." And I'm thinking, see, they've never really studied to work out how far they can see. It's just taken off hearsay. That's how far we can see. And I'm thinking, shit, you guys should, I know if I'm going out to sea, I'd want to know how far I can go out before I can't see land. So it's not a taught thing, and they don't want to teach that even in schools or anything.
The assumption there is, to be fair, is 3 miles, and that's where the point of convergence is. At human eyesight level is 3 miles, and that's what all the numbers are based on, and I assume the starting point for the size of the globe that we're going to premise from that point on. You know, that a lot of the math starts at that 3 mile premise of basic 20/20 vision being the point of convergence.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean you can't see past 3 miles. Okay, that's meaning the point of convergence, so therefore the point of perception of curve starts to occur at 3 miles.
Yeah.
Not you can therefore see further, because as the ship disappears, that drop and loss of the ship and the lowering the mast equates to further distance.
Well, my eyesight's not as good as what I was as a kid, obviously. But I know for a fact, and I'll give my brother a ring later on today too, but I can't remember if he was with us. I mean, we're under 15. I know I was definitely younger than 15, so I would have been about 10 or 12 years old. And with the other friends and that, we're standing at a place called Mahia Beach, and 90 kilometres away, a little over 90 kilometres away, across the bay, called the Hawke's Bay, we could see the lights in Napier. The street, not, whether it was, a big cluster of streetlights, whether it was on the Napier Hill, which I'd say is about 100 metres up, but even going on the curvature, while standing on that hill, there's no way I should be able to see Mahia. So the Earth curvature doesn't add up on that aspect.
Well, that's a great example, Ross. And I was telling the guys about your Napier story. Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah. Should never have been able to see the lights of Napier. Yeah. I wish I had the money to fly back there and go back there and on a clear night again and do it again. You know, just got to get the time right, I suppose. Because the summers in New Zealand used to be nice and good. And then, oh God, since I was 15 years onwards, you know, you get over to being a teenager and want to party, and that always seemed to rain around New Year's Eve. But when we were younger, we used to have really good summers.
Hey, Ross, I just wanted to remind you to really lean in there towards that microphone on your computer.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It's just pretty tinny and muffled. It's sometimes sometimes it's kind of hard to hear.
You sound like you're in the dunny, mate.
No, I'm in a big open room.
Hello, guys. What's going on?
Yes,
What's up,
James.
James?
How you doing?
Happy weekend to those who are having one.
Just starting mine.
Nice. I thought I'd wait for the second hour to begin.
Has it already? Has it already been an hour?
Is that another smooth segue? You see how it's done, Rob? You see how a smooth segue is done?
That's
you
a
see
smooth
That
segue.
was shit. That was shit.
Excellent.
Look, we have Raven Locks and Dundee Tayside out there. We have everybody. People have been. Can you believe people have been listening to Iron Realm Media for an hour?
It's the way these guys are the regulars, man. Props to Didi and props to Ravenlocks. They're always supporters.
Evening, guys. I follow you on Twitter.
So what you been up to, James? What's been going on?
Well, I've been looking at a lot of Rob Skiba stuff, as I hear you have, Ross. And I wanted to introduce myself. My name's Armour James, and it's a pleasure to meet a Kiwi finally.
Yeah, how are you?
Good,
Can you
brother.
hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Hey, Josh, I just put a photo up on our room. If you can post that. I took that photo on Thursday, so if you can go and just put it up on the screen here. I thought it was a very, very good one. That the guy in my office. I'll tell a story anyway. I'll tell a story when you put the photo up. So go, James. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
I didn't have much to say. Just been watching a lot of Skiba. He's been killing it, and yeah, caught the first bit of what
do you want to
showing with the gyro. Sorry, go ahead.
See, you've just raised it again, and I ignored it the first time when Rob and Ross were saying it. But the ski, you keep saying, been watching a lot of Skiba, and I kind of miss a lot of the mainstream stuff. So do you want to fill me in? Because I like, other than John appearing on, like, yeah, I watch my Globebusters every Sunday, ignore my kids every Sunday evening, and seeing that videos pop up here and there. I don't watch some of the mainstream guys. So what's Rob said this week that I've probably missed?
Well, it's kind of been a trio of things, Adam. Great stuff. I don't mind filling everybody in. I don't know that I can speak to specifics, but it started with a video about refraction and how the sun may move on the plane. And then he followed that up with an excellent one about how it's possible for the sun to light up clouds from underneath on the flat Earth, which was an excellent video, which I believe a few of our friends who have been on air here are sharing and using to attract some interest. And then he killed it with his last one, which was about Eratosthenes and using Pythagoras to like totally debunk the curvature math and like prove it impossible that we're on anything resembling a circle or a ball. A circle maybe, but not a ball.
Good job on that pronunciation too, by the way, James. That's a tough one.
I thank you.
It doesn't really roll off the tongue unless you say it wrong.
It's not the tips of the tongue. The tips of the tongue. It doesn't.
You knew what you were talking about.
A boot. Hey, I'm in my igloo. We got AC in the summer and we got heater in the winter. So I'm strapped in and we're not at Heathrow anymore. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm gonna withdraw and do a night crawling in the background here and let you guys carry on. The stars.
Are we gonna cancel this hour now and then start up another one, or are we gonna keep going?
Well, we can do whatever. I have it marked hour 1 because ideally I would like to start being able to do that, but I know right now with Hangouts it's kind of a pain in the keister.
It's easier editing.
We can keep going.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we just pretend we switch rooms? We'll use the hour mark. It's just a little bit after 5 now. We just started a little over an hour ago. And then we can just use this as a clapper right here at the picture. So the picture's on. The picture will just be the clapper to mark hour 2. So when we edit, we'll just edit at the picture. Well, it's listening.
Good idea.
Well,
look at this. We got a guy on the fly. Look at our guy on the fly go. Bravo, Josh. Bravo.
Thanks. So we'll just change the description and we'll just keep going. And maybe after the second hour to break it down a little bit. That way we don't have to try to deal with editing after the fact. But
yeah. Ravenlocks has just asked a question. What's the farthest distance that Ayers Rock can be seen? Well, I've never been to Ayers Rock. It's only about 3,000 kilometers west of me, so I've never been there.
Can't be seen from that far.
I've called
you never go and see him in the backyard.
You haven't been there, Ross?
Nah, it's in the backyard. Get to it one day. Always seems to happen.
No, I haven't.
Hey?
No, not sure. Not sure when I'll be out there. All right, so I'll talk about this photo. So I've got, as everyone keeps knowing, I've got my own little battle going on with the guy in the corner office. Anyway, it was a good day the other day, and I looked out my window and I saw these islands. It was actually, you can see the two there, and if you see the one on the right, there's another one off to the, it's a little tiny blip. Can you get your cursor? There it is. Yep, right there. There's another tiny. So that's a cluster of islands that are 58 kilometers away, or even 60. One of that little tiny one might even be 60. Now I don't see them. Very rarely do I see them because it's just too much shit in the air. But on this particular day, I saw them. Took a photo. Zoomed in as sort of good as I could get. And I went into the corner office and got him. And I said, he goes, "Oh, how do you know how far they are away?" So I always go to the Google Earth, what he goes to. And I pointed out, I actually tweeted the measurements. I've tweeted the screenshot I took of the Google Earth and this photo there, and I tweeted that out just to prove. But I was 40 feet off the water. I might have been 30 feet, but I'll exaggerate by saying 40.
Yeah, but next time you'll be not that high up, right?
Next time what? Next time I see these islands?
Yeah, you'll go low.
I hope to get as low as possible.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at, mate.
Yeah, but I probably would have been 30 feet, but I'll say 40 feet just because I don't know exactly. So I'll over exaggerate instead of under exaggerate. So those little islands there, I couldn't imagine them being more than 30 or 40 meters high. That's all that'd be. There was Palm Island, which is beside it to the right. You can't see it there. It's just out of shot there. That's a huge island, which is 1,800 feet high. And it just, when you've got them all in shot, they are, actually, I'll put another photo on here as well, Josh, of Palm Island, and it's from the same distance, but I took it at a different date. But he said to me, my little office battler that I battle with, I said, "Well, how can you explain that? How can you explain that I can see those two little islands?" Because he knows how big those islands are, because he's got a jet ski and he cruises out there, so he knows how small they are. He said, "I can't explain why you can see that. All I know is the Earth's round." And he walked off.
You broke the troll.
Oh!
You've crippled him.
Keep going with stuff like this.
But you know how Yeah.
What distance? If I've got 800, well, just short of 850 feet is my drop. Now that's not calculating in the 40 feet, and I can't do that in my head.
So you got to take my height into distance. So really that's about 40 miles away, 37 miles. 40 feet, you'd have to take about 8 or 9 miles off of that. So you work it out off about 29 or 30 miles. Work the figures off about 29 or 30 miles, somewhere about 600 feet. So those islands wouldn't be 100. Hey, I'll even exaggerate and say they're 200 feet high, which they wouldn't be.
Okay.
So there's 400 or 500 feet of missing curve right there.
Let's call it 29 kilometers then.
Miles.
So
Miles.
Oh, what's that in kilometers?
29 miles.
Times 2.2. Times 2.2 is the formula, I believe.
29, 46. So 46 kilometers.
Ah.
So 46 kilometers, I make 163 meters.
Whew.
So 163 meters in feet. 534 feet.
Yep.
Just what? Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. 46 kilometers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what you're working it off, Ross, because you've got to take your height into into account.
Yeah. So that doesn't make a big difference, 40 feet.
Oh, it does. It does. It does.
Yeah, but if you stood on
it's 100. It's 100 more feet. It does. And you've got
that makes a difference of just over 300 feet. In terms of curvature, if you're 315.
So I always do a reverse too, Rob, like where you're looking from to the island. If you find out the height of that island, usually they have, when you go on to Google or anything, what's the height of the island, and you just stand on that height and look back to where you are, theoretically, they should not be able to see where you are. You'd be under the curvature.
That's it. I've sent the other one, Josh, too. So you put the other one now. Now these are from the same distance.
So they're the ones where you can really clearly see the point of convergence, where that muffin top starts. That's the point. That's the actual horizon. Isn't it?
Yeah. So okay, you've got the island in the front is Magnetic Island. That's about 11 kilometers. So the corner of that, and the one at the back there is Palm Island. That is 60. That's the same distance away as those little ones. 60 kilometers as well. So you can see how big that one is compared to those other little tiny ones. Actually, more of that Palm Island that goes right over. That's not the peak. That's not the 1,800 feet peak. It is around the corner a little bit further. So I will now just photo for you.
Rob, before you move on from that photo, because that is wicked, that picture. People don't know what they're seeing.
I've got up there.
Yeah.
So that's 11 kilometers for the right island and 60 kilometers for the furthest one. Yeah. And I've just put up where I was standing and the direction I was as well. Those photos were on different days, but that photo there, I'm only about 12 feet off the water there.
Can I blow some smoke up your ass here? For me, that photo was illuminating in my understanding, because it shows clearly how the point of convergence works. Because if you look at the first, no one believes that those islands are that shape, do they? Do you know what I mean? That they're that muffiny in the way they are. That you can clearly see the reflection. And if you look at it's gone, but if you look at the different lines, if you draw horizontal lines at the point where the muffin top begins, you can actually see how the further distant has a higher point of starting reflection.
So to prove where I was, Adam, you can see the island that is closest to me, the really big one, is just off to the right of that blue line. And the really big one that is just off to the end, that's 60 kilometers away and to the right, that's Palm Island. So that's those two islands in one shot. And the little tiny islands are the ones that I've got the blue little markers on there. So that shows them sort of all in two photos, I suppose.
60 kilometers from 40 feet up. So
this little island here is the same little island I was marking with my cursor earlier.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe
Hey,
so.
Rob.
Yeah.
Okay, that Palm Island.
I'm
just looking on an elevation thing. The highest point being Mount Bentley is 552 meters. But that's
right.
more in the center.
Yeah, that's around the corner a little bit further. I'm not sure of the height of that part there. That part we're looking at there would only be, a couple hundred meters high, I'd say. Just that little point there. Because as you go around further, you can see it coming up. It sort of goes down then up to a peak. So that part there,
that's probably about under 200. Well, it's under 250 meters.
Yeah. So so you should be only seeing probably the peak of that as well. But it's really difficult. It's really difficult to try and get.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying it's really difficult to get the heights of those little islands because you get onto Google Earth and you're trying to, try and work out how big they are. Unless you actually take a boat out, and you and me, Ross, will have to do this. We'll have to take a boat out and go to of these little islands and just show people how big they really are. Because people don't believe you. They say, "Oh, how big are the islands?" Well, you can tell. You can see how small they are. They're tiny.
Yeah, they're little islands.
They're blips.
Yeah.
Look at that one on the right there. You point out there, Josh. They're little blips. 60 kilometers away. Look at it.
Yeah, they're not big islands, and they're not high islands either. They're little like bloody atolls, if you know what I mean. Similar to those.
No, so that's all I had to say on that. I thought, so that's what I did this week anyway. I got a good day, James. You've been asking me if I got a good day. That was a good day for about an hour and a half. I was able to get that in about an hour and a half later. I couldn't have got that shot again. It was all gone.
Just yesterday or just today or when was that?
Thursday
nice.
Morning.
Yesterday, yeah. Well,
no, 2 days ago. 2 days ago now.
If you can get serious now, that'll be awesome. I mean, the star, obviously, the colors. That's your next assignment, sir. It's like getting a camera. It's like getting a pickup truck. You're the guy now. Hey, I'm gonna move some stuff. Oh, I got a guy with the truck. Hey, I need help with getting the gardening out. I got a guy with the truck. You're the guy with the camera.
I'm glad to see you're making use of that B700 though. You're just using the hell out of it.
I've got it wherever I go. I don't leave anywhere without it.
I'm hoping to have one. There's one in the shop in the town I live in, and I know no one else is buying it. It's just sitting there for me, but somehow I've got to get a way to get it. So it's going to be awesome because that would be fun. Hey, Rob, if we had dueling 700s.
Well, sometimes I wish I had the more zoom. But, I don't know if I do need it, but sometimes you wish you had a better zoom.
It's the motion on the ocean.
Venuses and compare.
It's the motion on the ocean, sir.
What was that, Josh?
I said you guys will be able to whip out your Venuses and compare.
Well, Bob did have a bigger Venus than me, though, didn't you? That's to be fair.
I think it's all trial and error, but isn't it, Adam? You try and put them up.
I think you're just nearer because it's lower on the plane. You're considerably nearer to its point of rotation than I am ever. Hence why it was bigger for you, irrespective of the camera.
I got that. Good one.
I just put another.
Doing big 700s.
I
Always
just put
Picture of the
another.
same star with the same camera with the same settings on the same night.
A different, totally. I'm like at top left on the plane, and he's bottom right. So it'd be very cool. It'd be like corner to corner.
Right, because that really work with the sun and everything.
I just put my latest photo of a star up too. It's some sort of star starting with C. I don't know, Capoclus or something. I don't know. Some weird name.
I retweeted
it. I just posted that one. But you'll have to be in a dark room if you're seeing it, because it's a bit hard to see if you're up.
I'm telling you, man, the boys, what I'm realizing and feeling and seeing a lot, all this hocus NASA baloney, it's all because they know what's up there, and it's like most likely water and electricity, and they're trying to get in there or do whatever they can, but they can't really do squats, and they're just trying to seed our atmosphere to try and like get all of us to forget it, and then maybe seed above our atmosphere a little bit to pretend that's real space when it's like still miles and hundreds, maybe thousands of miles below the dome or the firmament or the barriers or the magnetic interference that causes us to be protected, and stable on our foundations that don't move.
Hey, has anyone heard that one where Hillary? Has anyone heard like that one where Hillary was going on like, we've hit that ceiling thousands of times. It's got to smash at some stage.
Yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
Project Thor, smashing the glass ceiling. Yeah.
But some of the other
do you want to put that star photo up as well?
They had Project Plum Bob. Thought that was pretty telling. Project Greenhouse. Thought that was pretty telling.
Yeah.
Those were all right around the same era, doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I always thought that as a kid when they, I believe it was 1991 or 86, where they started really promoting the ozone layer, and then they started talking about like everything being trapped inside like a dome. Remember they used to say that, and the rays were going to kill us, and then I imagined Earth like a little bubble with a plastic bag on top of it at that point. But of course, you just ignore it as a kid.
I was so proud.
That's
so proud when I could pronounce chlorofluorocarbons when I was young.
Oh, that doesn't roll off the tips of the tongue.
No, that's why everybody just calls them CFCs.
But in the 70s, they were talking of the climate cooling, and they're worried about heading towards an ice age. Now they're talking about overheating. Now, I remember like in New Zealand, we don't get humidity like we do here in Townsville. But there was a Christmas there where we couldn't sleep at night, and I remember being under the sheet in the bed, just a sheet, just to keep the mozzies off, because we didn't have price screens or windows. And it was a stinking hot Christmas, and my dad has told me stories of how they've had really hot summers when he was a kid. And then even recently, you can go to New Zealand now, and the winters can be cold. And they've even had snow in summer around Gisborne, up in the back hills behind Gisborne. So the global warming thing's bullshit. And it's like they're not hiding everything, which is what they'll be doing about the dome and everything. They're always trying to come up with an excuse in science to hide what they don't want us to know, because they want to control us.
Hey, Josh, I'm just showing you a whole heap of photos if you want to whack them all up too.
I see them. I'll get them.
You watch your language there, sir. There'll be no whacking going on here.
I don't find that funny at all.
Well,
John's the person we've got to tease.
Oh, isn't that funny, folks? The teaser doesn't like to be teased.
All right, we'll see how well that shows up.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Unless you're on a
phone. You can't really make it out, can you?
You're on a phone.
Now, it looks... looks like a cell or
Yeah.
something watery, like a fleck in a watery pool, but it certainly doesn't look like anything they tell us.
And it doesn't look spherical or anything either, like if it's supposed to be like the sun's spherical, and you know what I mean? It doesn't look like that if it's supposed to be something like that, is it?
Nope, that definitely does not look spherical.
Let me tell you what I was babbling on about. So I've got a beaker bong. Do you know what a beaker bong is? Like it's got a glass tube and then it flushes out to a real beaker base, right?
Yeah.
And I had I filled it up with water, and I had my two lights, a red light on and a green light, and I started spinning the bottom of it, and I was like, holy crap, man, these are stars. I'm like, this is why stars look exactly like these little water molecules when I spin this. And the more and more I look at your pictures, Rob, the more and more I think it's like liquid we're looking at up there.
Yeah.
Anyways, thought I'd share. I'll try and snap a photo tonight if I can, but you can clearly see it. And as I spin it, that's what I'll do. I'll set up the camera and I'll recreate it, because when I spin it, even when I was holding it and moving it to the light, I could get the light here to locally do some of the things I see at sunset. Ooh, I got my little do-it-yourself. All right, carry on.
Yeah, you should get some real good video of that, James. I know a guy that's got a studio all set up. I'll just send him the footage. All right, so what are we looking at here, Rob? I see a boat and a couple of markers with a green and a red flag. Hey, Rob, you're muted.
Well, you should have been listening to me. I'm about 1 foot off the water there, literally 1 foot. I got as low as I could without the water splashing onto me. And so 1 foot, and that boat was probably 3 or 4 k's away, I suppose. But the point there was why I took the photo was the mirroring image, which you'll see on the next one too. Which I love the next shot. I did this one last Sunday. It's a ripper, absolute ripper. This next one.
That's pretty good.
You're pulling the next one up too, with the fishing boat and the sailboat in the background too, Josh.
Nope, I decided I'm just going to save that one for myself. I'll let everybody. We'll save that for hour 3.
Have a look at this one. This is a ripper. So this is a sailboat, and you can see the fishing boat as he's going past him. You can see the mirroring image of the red line. You can see the motor at the back of and the motor at the bottom as well. So he's mirroring the motor and mirroring the paint job on the side of the boat.
Yeah.
The real, yep, you got it right, spot on. That's the real water line there. Yep.
It's the curve on the boat that's lovely on that. It just shows it. There's no ambiguity unless that boat is a tugboat with a really wavy line on it. But you know what I mean? If you can show that boat afterwards, you can demonstrate the way that it's pure reflection, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Just pure reflection. Yep. You can still almost make out the wake in the real water line.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. While I was watching the video, I only had so this is a video. What you're seeing there, I've just taken it like a screenshot of it. There you got the yacht on the left there, and it actually looks like it's gone over the horizon. The boat part of it is gone. Yeah, you're looking at it going. When I first saw it, I went, "Fucking hell, where's it gone?" But no, that's I had to, because I took a video of about 8 or 9 minutes. While I was videoing it, you could see it, and it was gone. It was just crumbled into the bloody mirage, and you couldn't see the bottom of the boat. But it is there. It's mirroring. Well, the sail is mirroring, and it's taking out the bottom of the boat.
Yeah.
So no, that's probably all the photos I could probably share at the moment. I'll get more, but
no, that's a good one. I like that one. It really does show that mirror band right through there.
Yep. What do you think, Adam?
No, I think, like I say, I think that bottom boat's the prover of the point. Well, like I say, you need a picture of the boat and its paint job, but the way that changes it along that point, like I said, you can see the back of the outboard or whatever it is mirrored dark at the bottom of the water again.
That's right.
Before you can clearly see, I mean, the water line you can see is also a completely different section of water to where the boat is. It's clearly a lot further in front of it, nearer to the observer than the actual boat, you know. So yeah, crack him on that one, mate. I like the other one though more. If you look at the poles, because you can even see the reflection of the entrance of the poles.
You want to go back to that one, Josh?
Yeah, why don't I pull that one up? Wish I could just do everything instantaneously. I'm not fucking Google.
Chop, chop.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
If you look at the top bit of the reflection of the boat, you can see the point of entry reflected on the bottoms of the pole, so they look continuous as opposed to the boat being a reflection. So,
look, even right here, you can catch just the reflection of the bottom of the flag, right?
Yeah, just the green one. Yeah.
Yep. And probably the start of the red one. If you guys, I can probably zoom in.
At the bottom of that green pole, you can actually see where it's touching the water. There's a dark, it seems to bulge and darken.
See? Yeah.
Yeah, it merges into the water line, doesn't it? The green.
Yeah. You can see the bottom.
Just goes to show too, you know, that happens not very far away. It's how high you up on the water for the mirage to start having, because that's only 1 foot off the water. The boat's not really that far away. So it just goes to show,
that's quite a big band, isn't it? There, if you look at where the conversion starts and how far it rises up to what appears to be the front of the boat, it's pretty much the deck of the boat where it finishes, and then you start to see the real image, don't you? That's quite a big chunk of that picture. So obviously, the lower you down you get, the more you're going to get that, aren't you?
Mm. So now, with your camera, Adam, you'll be able to zoom in even better than that.
I've got nothing. I've got no pretty scenery like that to go to. I've got no frame of. I've got no flat water. That's my biggest trouble. I have to look north.
Hey, Adam. Yeah. Whereabouts exactly are you located?
Nottingham.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So smack bang in the middle. No real water anywhere. So it's all my photography's aiming north. Aiming to the skies at the moment. But it's too bloody cold. I did a little bit last night. Trying to decipher between these cymatic images and the kind of more circular sort of gobstopper core images that you see of the stars. So doing lots of zooming in and out, and I reckon those gobstopper images, I think Rob's put one up, Josh, hasn't he, in terms of...
Yeah, I can grab it too.
I reckon they are out of focus. Cymatic, because I forget the name of the star. I had me star. I can't remember, but it was last, and I zoomed in on it, and our images like that got a few. I was trying to send this crappy Nikon app, Rob. I think you'll agree is rubbish at downloading and sending stuff on.
Oh, it's
especially video.
Absolutely terrible.
But with that again, I was getting all sorts of rainbow colours, but with a yellowy hue to it. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to this has got a blue hue, this star. So even though they're out of focus, they've certainly got their own colour differentials. But I think when you get that cymatic image, that I think is it's got to be in focus, because I think these are the out of focus images that we're seeing on that other picture Rob's posted. Because I can't see how the cymatic images are out of focus. I don't, because they're in focus and they're changing. So yeah, Ross, that's what I'm kind of doing, pointing at stars, trying to figure out what's in focus and what ain't. Because that's what we do, guys, and that's why that's why I bought it, because I didn't know what I was being shown. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm seeing, and I can't wait for the summer. I'll stand more than 10 minutes. Every video I've got, you can see the shaking that happens, and you know how steady you have to keep that camera log when you're zooming in on the star. It's silly, so I can't wait for the summer.
No, so that's probably it for me anyway. I've got nothing more to add. No more photos anyway. No more photos. I did try and take a video of the last night or yesterday morning. I don't think it turned out very well, so I haven't even sifted through it yet. I couldn't. It was in the dark. I was trying to zoom in on it and it just wasn't working. So I haven't even gone through the video on a big screen yet, but I'll do that probably today.
That'd be good stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. It was just a light. I'm pretty sure it's just a light that was going across the sky, and me getting eaten by mozzies. Again, yeah, I was out on the sort of the salt flats, trying to get in the dark so I could get a better shot, but I don't think it worked properly. So I'll sift through that today, see what happened. Because on the viewfinder you can't see it properly, so you play it back to yourself. You can't see. Oh, shut up, cocky. Yeah, you can't really see it properly on the viewfinder. When you play it back to yourself, you need it on a big screen to see what happened.
On that, on stuff to look at, I've just sent you I just got sent a tweet by my brother-in-law who's a fully globe head. A ring of fiery eclipse will be visible from parts of the southern hemisphere on February the 26th. So I don't know what that is, but that's probably worth pointing your camera to the skies, dude.
Better double check that date.
What was that one, Adam? What's supposed to happen?
Did we talk about last week? Rob, you and I, maybe it was in chat about the eclipses that are happening this year.
Yeah, there was one in August, but I didn't hear anything about late this month.
Dude, I'll start this with a disclaimer because it is NASA website. So on February 26th, a ring of fire will be visible in the sky above parts of the southern hemisphere, including Chile, Argentina, and Angola. Oh no, you're no good. I've got this is called an. So basically, yeah, it's out of, again, things that don't make sense. Fully out of alignment, so you've got a full ring of fire. Do you know what I mean? So for all that time, it's in perfect alignment, so you get a full eclipse. But now we're getting one where you get a ring of fire, which produces a halo effect. So out of sync. So I'll see if I can find out what the explanation is.
Well, I thought the one in August was going to be a ring of fire too. And it was supposed to be one that's visible for all of the United States, I think, from coast to coast. Everybody should be able to get to see it, as I recall.
Yeah. That don't make the fullest sense either, does it?
No, not the fullest. That's what fluoride and indoctrination are for.
Anything that continues across when we know that the sun and the moon rotate across, whether it's globular or flat plane, the rotation is different. Anything that can maintain for a period across the earth is contrary, though, then to the maths, isn't it? You can maintain that eclipse for a prolonged period of travel across the Earth. That seems contrary to the maths of the globe. Yeah, the August the 21st, 2017, there's I'll find out what you can see it says, but partial solar eclipse, weather permitting, in North America.
You'll have to mute yourself, Ross. I think you're not muted. Thanks, mate.
Much better. Adam, did you talk at all today about the tour story that you were talking to us or in private about at all? Did you bring that up?
I've not got onto that strange bit of symmetry that occurred with that. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just wondering.
No.
Probably too much of a tangent just yet, but it is.
It was certainly interesting. I saw John's stuff's been on quite a few channels this week. Hey, good for him.
He's rocking it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's our superstar. He's our guy.
Yeah, it's great that Lowbuster grabs it and everybody picks it up and runs with it. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Adam too. You're our second guy or our first guy. We're all first guys, but
we're all number one.
Everybody has a role, baby.
I want to be on the A team.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun.
I was trying to explain that to my son the other day. What's the A team, Dad? Well, they go around, and the best description I could say was when they made the cabbage throwing machine. Was the only way I could describe it. They're good guys, but they kick ass, but they don't ever hurt anyone. So but yeah. But yeah, we need. I think what would be good with John and this, it would be for maybe Globebusters to give him some airtime to maybe explain everything. So it's easy enough seeing that, but we tried. I think badly at the beginning to explain the significance of what John was demonstrating. And I think it'd be nice, given the airtime it's had, for him to at least be able to articulate the significance of what he's done. And there's a lot of scientific method, proper, undisputable application of taking a first experiment and then taking the learning from that and taking criticism from that and applying the scientific method to validate your findings.
We're seeing that from a lot of guys. We're seeing a refining of 4 or 5 key principles that we know provide hard factual evidence that the Earth is a plane, not a planet, and it's not splitting. So you see, like, the curvature part, people like Rob Skiba, yourself, going like hard into that in terms of math and how using it against them. And then you see, other areas like whatchamacallit, like gyroscopes that John's on about, of course. And that being refined into a method where I see it to the point where John is removing all possible trolling, possible obstacles, taking away any sort of risk or chance that this could be falsified info. So it's definitely nice to see everybody after a couple of years starting to really refine and dig into the stuff that we know proves it, and then now we see the translation for everybody else coming out of it. And I think John's perfect. He's been at it for quite a while with that.
Right, which is far better cry than people hooting and hollering about how these southern flights don't exist.
Or trying to show the maths of something that doesn't exist. And that's the real point of John. all this curvature stuff is sadly, you know, my favorite thing, but it is ultimately fruitless, because what you're trying to prove is you're trying to demonstrate that something that you can see isn't there. And but whereas the reality with John's stuff is you can do it, you can set it up, you know what it's doing, you can play with it yourself and demonstrate how it interacts with forces applied to it, and you can set it up and you can do the experiment yourself for, I don't know what the cost is, but not a considerable amount of cash.
And that's it, Adam. You can prove no curvature very, very easily, really, can't you? With those few simple little photos, but you need people to believe you. What I've done is, you prove it in your own mind. That's all you really need to do.
Well, you prove it's flat. You prove it's flat. What I've tried to prove is, if it wasn't flat, this is what you would see.
That's right.
But it's very hard to then show that, because you can't show it, because it's not
that's right.
demonstrable, which is why you get all the myths and the bullshit and the false diagrams in all the curve calculators, because it's the last thing they want you to do is think straight about this. But your camera was straight at 40 feet and it showed.
Yeah. I think people think it's huge. Like, I've spoken to a few people, and I've said, the Earth's flat, and they say, no, you can see that far because how big we are. You stand on a beach and you can see those things that are 58 kilometers away, and they think, yeah, that's because we're so big. They don't even take what we should be seeing by the maths, because they don't know. They just see the Earth as being ginormous. But when you go back to the maths and you actually work out how fast it curves away, it's actually quite fast. So it's in their mind that we're huge because they can see so far.
It's not perceptible for anyone without measuring equipment, is the thing I would say. It really isn't perceptible without setting up. Even, I think you can detect it with a laser light across a kilometre, because I reckon that's about 16 centimetres. But without any equipment, it's not detectable, and that's the thing that makes it arguable, because you can't see it, or even if it is there, you wouldn't be able to see it. So that's the thing that defends it to me, because your perceptions are what we argue. You look at your eyes, and that's the biggest thing with curvature, is whether it was there or it isn't, you wouldn't see it anyway without equipment.
I tell you what, my little office battler, that I'll call him my office battler now. I asked him. I did the old street interviews. Remember the guy was saying, "Give us your best proof." I said that to him, and he said, because everything else is round. Everything else in nature is round. What does everyone else have to say about that? I know what I said, but what do you think about that one, Adam? Like, all the other planets are round. Water, when it falls out of the sky, it maintains sort round. Of a spherical shape, I suppose. Atoms, are round. I'm guessing molecules are round. And was hinting at, I suppose. I said a tree's not round, but he believes that the bits that make up the tree are round.
Molecules aren't round. What molecule's round?
I don't know. You explain it.
Not molecule that I know.
I'm a bogan, as I just said to Jamie on chat, or Jameer. Sorry if I just got that wrong. I'm a bogan. I don't know this shit. So explain it.
Well, molecules. Well, for a start, a molecule is more than one atom. So you're going to struggle to put two. Even if you think one's circular, you're going to struggle to put more than one together and make it circular, aren't you? By definition, two circles don't make one. Do you know what I mean? Or spheres. So molecules aren't round by definition. But I assume if you take the point he's trying to make, so an atom is round. Draw me a picture of an atom. It's not round. There's a cluster of circles in the middle, which represent protons and neutrons, and then there's elliptically circling electrons, which are represented as nothing really, aren't they? So no, on a molecular level or an atomic level, things aren't round. So what we're told is that when we look up there, it all is round. We've seen through our camera, zoom, even in focus, out of focus, stuff ain't round. They're not pretty round shapes, are they? Do you know what I mean? You get.
According to his model, how much life would he say is on these other planets? Grand total. According to his model.
No, he's sort of under the assumption that we're it. We are it, but
okay.
If we
so
weren't
he says
it,
there's no life out there.
So
we look at those planets and we see no life out there. Why should we assume there's life on Earth?
I asked him about Area 51.
Can we just assume that we don't exist because there's no life out there? Or can we just assume that we are not what we see out there? There is a definite difference between what we are here is different than what we see out there. Either model.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We can't just look and assume because we see it out there that it's to be true down here.
Yeah, he doesn't.
That raises the question: what do we see out there, though, doesn't it? Because look at what we're told we've been seeing this week out there, and then actually look at what was seen out there, and the two things are completely non-equatable. They won't even present the evidence for the 7, 8, 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many planets that orbit a sun smaller than ours, so the gravitational issues, but there's enough stuff and they reckon there might be water. Do you know what I mean? It's just the evidence is of serious debate to me on stuff like that. So all of what we consider is reconsiderable, I'd say.
I think you're right, but I think that's the biggest difference, especially when you're dealing with people on Twitter, is I think some of them just can't get past that hurdle, that mental hurdle. I don't know that I don't know that they will be able to. I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's people that are just going to, at this point, white knuckle it to spite flat Earth.
Well, that's to answer your question, Rob, and to go with what you said, Josh. That's what I think that answer is. It's just a really simple, quick, disengaging answer. Everything's round, so we're round. Like, really, anybody who researches or has a moment to like actually observe things around them won't give an answer like that, because that's just a quick conversation ender. Like, it's kind of like, to me, I see it as giving you a tiny bit of it'll give you the decency of an answer, but that's it. It'll end the conversation just at that.
What did Jim Morrison say?
Which is a step up.
Shortcut to thinking. It's just a shortcut to thinking. That way you don't have to think about anything. We just say shit. We just open our mouth and say shit, and we don't have to actually think about the ramifications of whether it might actually be true or not. We just say things.
NASA's lived on that for years.
Certainly have.
What do you say to people who say, because another top one, Rob, has to be, for me when I first started, was, well, what do you think the scientists and all the smart people do? We have people that do all this and went to rocket school, James, and like studied all this for years. Like thousands of people with like degrees who are so smart, James. They've done the work, you know. And then they get all insulted because, like, I mean, I'll take my family example. I won't name names, but university education mentally apparently means a lot. But I know from common sense that it doesn't unless you're dedicated and you follow through. It's all relative in that sense. But
if you've got one person.
Uh-oh. You just broke up real bad, Rob. I hope we didn't lose you.
Well, you got me now?
Now, there you go.
Okay. If you've got a person that teaches,
and you're gone,
and all his teachers and all his teachers and all his, you know, it goes down the line. You know, the students now are only just, you know, everyone's on the same page, aren't they? with the scientists. So like the paleontologists, if a paleontologist from 500 years ago tells you that this rock is 500 million years old and that's why it is, then the people he taught think that, and the people that they teach think that. So we're still thinking that that rock is 500 million years old.
Yeah, and let's just dig a little.
It's as simple as that. This is the signs that you need to look at for that rock to be 500 million years old. If you see this, that means it's 500 million years old.
And do you know? Let me talk to the emotions of it, Rob. Here's why it gets so smartly inserted into us, that being, because you have a teacher like that. You spend a year or sometimes 2 years with this professor. You know, you build a relationship with him. You build trust in the things he says. You're learning with him. So if somebody like that influences you and you're learning at a state or institution like that, you really form a bond of trusting, because you grow up and you base a lot of your emotional and intellectual thinking around that experience. So that's why it's so tough for people when I look at it.
I mean, I think there's a financial investment there too. I mean, they're paying for this university education.
But these guys don't think they're wrong. So we're talking to people that we're talking to people that don't think they're wrong. They just that's what they believe is right. You can't. Most of the time, we'll never beat that. That's the way they're taught. That's the way they're taught.
Well, see, here's the thing. 2.5 years ago, I was the same way. I mean, I didn't see it. I wouldn't have known it. Before I sat down and did the research, like everybody says, my first reaction was, nope.
Prove the rock is not 500 million years old. Prove it. How do you prove a rock isn't 500 million years old?
Exactly.
And to me, that's the essence of what flat Earth is. It's breaking that conditioning, stepping outside and losing the fluoride stare and getting the clarity from your eyes and being able to actually see things in a new light.
Getting off the red herring.
Learning to question what it is that the people are telling you, the authority by which they use these words. And there it is for me. It's questioning authority, but what do I know?
You can't change people, but one thing will, Rob. So take heart. Status quo changes. Even the most cognitively deficient ballers that we run into, when the status changes, they'll switch just like a bandwagon, and then everybody will be on the same page, and then it'll be hard to break that new model.
Yeah. Now that carbon dating stuff is they've taken an estimate time and then worked off to go back so far, because in England somewhere when they do an excavation on the hill and they're going on about the age of the layer of certain soils and how many billions of years older that was, yet on the other side there's a petrified tree in the same level. So it proves against their theories. You know, they'll always come up with carbon dating, but it's like, well, how do you prove carbon dating? They'll just pick a figure and go, we'll work from this, and go, so this is 1,000 years, and we'll work back from that. They've got to pick a starting point, which they make up.
Carbon dating's a crock of shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So scientifically speaking, it's nonsense. I mean, there's not even any evidence, but it's based on the differentiation between the carbon-12 and 14 isotope and its decay.
People can't.
But it's based on it today. It's based on the assumption that all organic material deposits carbon-14 at the same rate. It's based on assumptions that carbon-14 ratios were the same over time. It's based on decay rates being exactly the same no matter what the conditions that you sit stuff in, because it's isotopic decay, they say, so it doesn't matter. It's nonsense. It's absolute. Yeah. And as you say, the important thing is what they tend to do is find out the date they want it in and then use the degree of error to make sure it fits.
But if you and I are talking and you said, how far was it from A to B? And I said, it's about 9 kilometres, possibly 10. 1 kilometre, right? It's not a big difference. But if I said, well, how long ago did these dinosaurs exist? And you go, oh, possibly 20 million to 30 million years ago. Well, 10 million years is a big difference. It's not like, you know what I mean? That's a big space of time. So it doesn't work out. Here's my other thing, and it's not being racist or anything. They go on about the Aborigine being the longest surviving race on Earth, 40,000 years. And I question people. I say, well, 40,000 years, and not being mean or something, you know, but still dragging a stick around in the dirt without coming up with anything is a long time not to have come up with anything. You know?
I would suggest to you that what they came up with, right, is what we're all freaking searching for, and it weren't until the British turned up and fucked it up that they got to a point that we long for.
Yeah, possibly. They got away from the system and said, fuck it.
They realised what was important, what we were here for, and it wasn't the pursuance of wealth and an accumulation of such things. It was about why we were here and what was the purpose of spending time here. Is what I would suggest.
Every culture around the world has a belief in something, of a god or something or whatever. Now, New Zealand, with its history of the Maoris, there's a lot of stuff now that they're uncovering that points out well before the Maoris were there, and there were other people been there. And also, from a girl in Wellington University, a Maori girl or whatever, doing one of her theses on the alcohol of the Maori, found that it actually relates back to what China, the Chinese or Japanese. And then it follows down through the same as the North American Indians down through to the South American Indians, the Incas. So you've come from an origin somewhere and spread out around the earth. So, but they'll teach you in school different history. And then when they find things, oh, history changes. And it's the same with science. Science will always go, oh, we've got it. Well, really? I don't think you have. Because they'll come up with something different. They do it all the time.
And just for the listeners, Ross, you're talking about the Maori, right? That's Maori. Yeah.
Yeah. See, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that was something I mentioned a few months ago. I'd watched a number of vids on that talking about Maori origins, and there was a lady
and
from
what was
who on James.
Sorry, what was the outcome? Did they speculate that it was also descended from ancient Greeks or Romans or Egyptians, or was it Polynesian?
Yeah, well,
they were saying
this,
Central European.
Yeah, they have this thing out of Africa. And out of Africa, you know, obviously through evolution, the apes are out of Africa stuff. Now, they can probably say, yeah, we come from out of Africa, Garden of Eden or whatever it was. But the thing is, they're trying to say it doesn't add up to evolution of a whole lot of things. There's a lot of different races and different things like that. Well, people adapt. It's like when Darwin tried to prove about birds and stuff, you know, in Galapagos Islands or whatever. No, they're just adapting to the environments. And if you ever look at the eyes of the Maori, they actually have an oriental look to them. And you travel back down, if you get to the Hopi Indian, very similar. Native tribe in America. So, you know, when people spread out, and they didn't have a written thing on computers like we have today, so stories were handed down the line and kept probably relatively close, but there would have been variances. But the Maoris have always had a mythology and some greater god above them, the Egyptians. Mind you, the Egyptians went on the scale of other things. But when you combine it with sciences and everything, science is always changing. The history of man's always changing, and they'll try and lie to you, and that's how they get people deceived and to believe in what the globe Earth. And yet here we go with NASA, can't provide one actual proof of evidence of what the globe looks like or the Earth looks like. They don't want to. Otherwise, they lose out on big money.
Yeah, there is big money to be made.
Yeah.
Big money that has been made.
Did Rob? Did you catch the hilariousness that is the docking of the little transit package that went up to the ISS? It literally looks like something you would see on the Atari 2600 with a couple of, or like maybe Top Gun on the old Nintendo graphics of where they're trying to refuel with the pump. It's terrible. I don't know how. The longer it goes, the more fake NASA becomes to you. I mean, ridiculous.
So just as a heads up, guys, that was like 2 hours already. We've already busted 2 hours. So we can switch rooms and try to start up another one. Just to get a little more easily.
Let's cut
That's
this
a good
one.
idea.
I think that would be a fantabulous idea.
Okay.
See you
All right.
next.
Awesome.
All right.
So it's been 2 hours here on the Iron Realm. If you'd like, we are going to pick this up here just as soon as I can get it set up and rebroadcast. So I'd really appreciate it for you just to stick around and keep your eyes open for the links because they will be posted shortly, or just watch out for the channel. We'll be up there. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and try to
Thank
keep
you.
loving
See you. Bye.
Catch you later.
Thank you.